Chris Paul is one of the greatest point guards of all time, with his ability to take any team, any season, and make them that much better. From the OKC Thunder a season ago to today, making the Phoenix Suns not only playoff contenders, but championship contenders for the first time in over a decade. Now, with that being said, Chris Paul is 35 and no doubt only has a few years left in the league. It was recently reported that the point guard will be declining his $44 million player option with the Phoenix Suns in search for a long-term deal. Now, this begs the question, not if Chris Paul would move on from the Suns, but if the Suns are willing to pay Chris Paul near max money until the age of 39. I just want to take a quick moment to ask you guys, if you are not subscribed to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. We are so close to 300,000 subscribers. Thank you all so much for that, man. Yo, what's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes here. So we are going to be talking about Chris Paul and the potential of a new contract this NBA offseason, and if the Phoenix Suns would offer him that type of money, or if he should go to a different team, man. Now, let me just say first and foremost that I hope he returns to the Phoenix Suns. I hope that they can work something out financially, just because I realize he's up there in age, but at the same time, just like what he's done for that team, he was the perfect point guard that the Suns needed this NBA season. So on the season, he's averaging 16 points, 9 assists, 5 rebounds per game. That's during the regular season, of course. While during the playoffs, he's been dealing with injuries, so obviously the numbers and efficiency are way down. Hopefully that's just not like, hopefully it's nothing like lingering on. Hopefully he can come back healthy and be good to go, you know, for the rest of the playoffs. Because as of right now, it looks like they'll probably get past the Lakers. But then again, you know, LeBron James can do LeBron James things, and we all know that you should never count him out, right, guys? Okay. So the contract that he's kind of looking for at the moment is going to be 3 years, $100 million. That's not that's not 100 mil per season. That's about, what would that be, like $33 million, you know, per season for the next 3 years. I don't know if he wants like a team option or a player option. I can't imagine he would want a player option at the age of 39, but then again, maybe he's still out there balling. Maybe they come out with some sort of super medicine that can make players play till the age of 50. I don't really know, man, but regardless, that is a lot of money to pay, because, like, you know, the pros of this is that CP3 straight up changed the culture of the Phoenix Suns. I mean, he really did. He brought up this leader point guard. I remember last year, you know, they had like Ricky Rubio, Eli Okubo play at times, which, yeah, I do like Eli Okubo, to be honest. Javon Carter, you know, guys like that, man, which are fine point guards, you know, in certain circumstances. But for the most part, it's like those are rotational role players at best, right, man? With Rubio probably being the best out of the three, but then again, he's not really doing much for Minnesota this season, right? So as far as the cons of this, man, because like I said, like, you know, you can pay Chris Paul that $44 million player option for 1 season and you're good to go. But, you know, while in the short term, that does free up like an extra like $11 million to add somebody this NBA season, over the course of the next, you know, 3 seasons, that's still $33 million locked up. So, you know, the long-term cap space kind of is an issue. Chris Paul is going to be getting up there in age. He already is an injury prone. He already is. Like, that's not going to get better with age. And, you know, if he does have a huge decline just within his play or his health, and he's locked in that type of money, then the Suns are essentially screwed, man. They have this extremely young, talented roster led by, you know, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, but they're going to have this $30+ million old point guard kind of locking up the cap, right? Now, there's also a chance too that Chris Paul becomes completely healthy and he can ball out till he's age of like 38, 39. Like the type of game that he plays is completely fine. Like, he's not like extremely like athletic base. I mean, he's all about the basketball IQ, taking smart shots, so that really can age very nicely. I mean, we look at like John Stockton played till what, like he was like 40+ years of age, and he was completely fine. So I think Chris Paul, not to mention too, he shot like 40% from 3 this season. So it was like that 3-point shots there. That's not going to go away. So there's a chance that he could just be completely fine and there's no issues. It's really the health that comes down to it with me, man, because eventually, you know, those injuries add up and you can get a type of injury that you just can't shake away, or you just, you know, can't get away from later on in your life, right, man? So, in my opinion, why should the Suns decline the contract? Like, let's assume they were just cool with, like, okay, we got CP3 for 1 more season. We know he's up there in age, but we know the 2022 NBA offseason, the free agents are going to be absolutely loaded. So, you know, why would they decline it? You know, in my opinion, man, like, there is some decent point guards this NBA free agency. Obviously, none of them are as good as Chris Paul. Chris Paul's an all-star. He's changed the culture of the team. But, you know, maybe they were cool like CP3 for 1 season. So they're like, okay, well, CP3 wants a 3-year deal. We don't want to do that. So then you got to look for some other options, right? And some of the options out there, you got Mike Conley. I believe his contract's up with Utah Jazz. Like, he would be nice. He's obviously another point guard that's getting up there in age a little bit, but I still think he would fit in nicely with what the Phoenix Suns would do. It would be a nice short-term replacement until they found the long-term future guy on the team. Or maybe they just go out there and sign a whole bunch of, older point guards for the rest of Devin Booker's career, and that's just okay. You obviously have Kyle Lowry, another guy kind of up there in age. I would not give him more than like a 1 or 2 year deal, personally speaking, but a guy like Lowry probably is not going to accept a 1 year deal anyway. You got Goran Dragic from the Miami Heat. Of course, he was once upon a time on the Phoenix Suns. I don't remember if they ended things, awkwardly, or if they were just kind of like, okay, we're moving on to somebody else, and that's completely fine, right? Now, the issue about that is that, once again, Chris Paul, the 1 year player option was absolutely perfect. You could have seen one more season, what you could have got out of CP3 and the Phoenix Suns. But the thing about him declining, or if him, looking for an extension, or maybe the Suns not wanting to give him that extension, is that none of those other point guards I mentioned are going to sign, 1 year deals. It's just not going to happen. Like, that's just not how great NBA point guards are. Like, they want the long-term deal. You can't blame Chris Paul for chasing it either, right, man? But the thing about those point guards is maybe they would cost you a little bit less than Chris Paul, and you're still getting a really good quality player and still hopefully saving some cap space for the 2022, NBA offseason, man. And just to name a few guys in that offseason that are free agents, you have Bradley Beal. Him and Devin Booker would be absolutely crazy. Neither one of them is like a natural point guard, but I'm pretty sure they can kind of figure that out. You got Kyrie Irving. Him on the Phoenix Suns, oh my God. Like, what more of a better fit can you think of than that? I can't think of one, man. There's a guy like a Terry Rozier who's proven to be pretty damn solid for the Charlotte Hornets. So a younger player, a guy that can get buckets, that could be somewhat of a long-term fit and bring them some scoring to the Phoenix Suns team. You got Kemba Walker. Of course, his stock is probably at an all-time low right now, but going forward, we all know that he is like a potential all-star caliber point guard, so then get him for a pretty cheap price in 22 NBA offseason, hopefully. And then going on, beyond point guards, if you want to maybe look for a smaller type of guy out there that can play that point guard spot, maybe someone that's not like a near all-star, and kind of bolster up maybe like the power forward position or something like that, because Jay Crowder's going to be getting up there too, man. Although I do like Cam Johnson. Then you can go for a guy like a Julius Randle. Like, Julius Randle would fit in perfectly with the Phoenix Suns. A lot of playmaking and stuff like that, right, man? So, okay. So let's be pessimistic here for a second. Let's assume that Chris Paul does not return to the Phoenix Suns. Let's just assume that the Suns are like, hey, that's too much money to tie up going forward. We have a good thing going on here. I mean, come on, like, they were 8-0 in the bubble before CP3. Obviously, Chris Paul was a big part of what they did this season, but the team was going to be talented nonetheless, right, man? But let's say they want to move on from that. Looking at Chris Paul, what are some teams that might be willing to take on that 3-year type of contract, man? Now, keep in mind, in this case, I'm not putting like a ton of thought into the cap space, so obviously guys might be moved around or traded or sign trades, whatever needs to be done to get this to work, but I just figured these were like 5 really solid teams in my opinion. The number one team, a team that actually has a ton of cap space this NBA offseason, would be the New York Knicks. The Knicks just got eliminated from the playoffs. A guy like Chris Paul, I know it's kind of memey to say that the Knicks should sign a point guard or a player that's getting up there in age and injury prone to a long-term contract, because typically that doesn't work out for the Knicks' favor. But I think it would work out perfectly, if Chris Paul signed that deal and then they still were able to get Derrick Rose back, because then you always have that great point guard on the court with the Knicks. You always have that leader. Chris Paul will not need to play 30-40 minutes per game. He could play 28 to 30 minutes, which maybe you don't want to pay a point guard that much money to only do that type of production, but then you always have Derrick Rose as a sixth man out there, and it's just absolutely perfect, man. I thought the Knicks were a perfect fit. They have enough young guys, enough, rookie contract deals where for 3 seasons of Chris Paul, it wouldn't really matter all that much, because they can go, use like the bird rights or go over the luxury tax, whatever they really need to do to retain some of the guys they already have on their team. And then in 3 seasons, they're good to go. Now, obviously, once again, that's going to limit what they can do in the 2022 NBA offseason. So that's the kind of the thing there. It's like, is a long-term Chris Paul worth the risk of not getting one of those big names in 2022, especially if you're the Knicks, a team that you would appear a lot of players would probably want to go to now, because that culture is just completely changed. But it would be so much fun to see CP3 for a season over there. Another team we have is the Miami Heat. So I'm wearing a red shirt today because I was actually going to do a Heat video, because there's talks of, Jimmy Butler getting a really large contract extension. I might still do a video on that tomorrow or something. But regardless, if they commit a whole bunch of money to Jimmy Butler, then via extension, that would not affect the cap space in the short term. So they could go all in next season, man. Like, they're already paying Jimmy Butler. They got Bam Adebayo signed up. They got guys like Tyler Hero still on rookie deals. You get Chris Paul, you go all in, man. We've been hearing about CP3 to the Miami Heat for a few seasons now, and I still think it makes a lot of sense, at least for the short term. You know, Jimmy Butler's not the youngest guy out there himself, so I mean, going all in the short window, trying to win a championship, man, I think is probably the way to go. Another team would probably be the LA Clippers. They are starting for a point guard. Now, obviously, it's been a pretty competitive series with the Dallas Mavericks making this video. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard are completely fine, but when it comes down to it, you know, Patrick Beverley is not a starting point guard. Rajon Rondo just is like, you know, he's kind of like becoming like meh as a point guard. Chris Paul going back to Lob City, man, going back to the Clippers would be kind of a fun, like, full circle to the end of his NBA career. And once again, he would be absolutely perfect for what that team needs at the point guard spot. Another team in LA, the Los Angeles Lakers, man, come on. Like, I still want to see Chris Paul play with LeBron James. You know, I don't know if they really have the money to get him or not, because that's definitely going to limitate some of the other moves they can make. But then again, you know, Dennis Schroeder's not looking all that great. Kyle Kuzma's not looking all that great. So maybe a shifting, going for some more veteran players is probably the way to go. So yeah, man, I'd love to see Chris Paul, you know, for a few seasons, kind of close things out with LeBron James. It'd be a beautiful thing. He was supposed to be on that team once upon a time, but as we all know, you know, David Stern, and when he owned the Hornets or the Pelicans, whatever team it was at the time, he declined the trade to the Lakers. So that'd be fun to see, you know, later on in Chris Paul's career, go to the team he was supposed to be on. And then, you know, yet again, this is the team that doesn't really need him, but this was just kind of like a 15 filler that I was thinking of. You know, the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, Chris Paul, Jrue Holiday in the backcourt, Chris Middleton, Giannis. I don't think the money works at all, but if it does, that'd be kind of sick, man. But I don't think that one works. That was just kind of more like a, hey, that would be kind of fun to see, man. But you guys let me know in the comment section below. Should the Phoenix Suns sign Chris Paul to whatever money he wants? Should they be a little wary about it? Should they be like, okay, we gotta be a little, you know, open about our future, and realizing that you're no longer 26-year-old NBA superstar Chris Paul. You are now 35-year-old NBA All-Star Chris Paul. That's still really good, but who knows if that's gonna be the case 2-3 years from now, right, man? So what do you guys think should happen? What team should Chris Paul go to if he ends up, you know, just not getting the deal he wants with the Phoenix Suns? And yeah, man, that's all we got for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Back still kind of sore a little bit, so I'm still avoiding the push-ups for a little bit, but that's all we got, man. Thank you all so much for watching, and peace out.